a wheel of thought, a shifting rise, where what appears deludes our eyes. We chase the mirage in the world a shimmering lake, and thirst persist for goodness sake. In funhouse mirrors, the selves distort. We ourselves distort. We laugh, we frown, our joys cut short, believing shadows fleeting, grand, we build our castles in the sand. That is how we search the happiness outside. This is delusion, a foggy pan, obscuring truth, bringing an endless pain. We seek our solace, outward bound, in status, in wealth, on hollow ground. We seek our solace, outward bound, in status, wealth, on hollow ground, the social scrawl, the endless chase for perfect form, a fleeting grace. Each grasp for joy, a transient high, leaves dukkha and the suffering lurking, passing by. But wait, a whisper deep within, a subtle knowing where peace can begin. To clear the mist, to see anew the boundless real self eternally true. To self-inquiry deep and slow, the seeds of the wisdom starts to grow. With mindful breath and open heart, we learn to play a different part. The false dissolves, the real takes hold. Awakening, a story ancient, bravely told. From clouded sight to a vision clear, we find awakening, vanishing fear. The search outside, it gently ends as inner peace its light extends. That is what the Eastern wisdom is. No longer bound by what we deem, but living the truth, a waking dream. We have to convert this dream into a reality. We are starting a series on Bhaj Govindam. It has two meanings: turn your mind to the real self or the supreme consciousness. Another title of this text is Hammer the Delusion, but we should have first the basics to understand. We have to understand the delusion, what it means by hammering. We are hammering mentally through our knowledge, through contemplation and reflection. Eastern wisdom teaches that our experiences of suffering are not just about the pain and the obvious hardship. It is a deeper, more pervasive sense of unease, dissatisfaction, impermanence that underlies even our most pleasant experiences. This suffering is intimately tied to delusion. Delusion is essentially a mistaken belief or a distorted perception of reality. It is when we claim something is true, but because it appears to, but it is not true. It appears true. The water in the mirage appears true, but it is not true. So that is why we need a contemplation and reflection to hammer the delusion to end the suffering. The delusion that once I achieve something, say for example, once I achieve $1 million, then I will finally be happy. Finally be happy, and all my problems will disappear. It never happens in our life, but still we chase. A constant postponement of the joy, dissatisfaction with the present, anxiety about the future, and the potential disappointment when the external goal doesn't bring the lasting fulfillment. Then there is a regret cycle, which starts with if only, the delusion that if only I had done the things differently in the past, I should have married to someone else, I should have married to this one, I should have divorced earlier. You see, if only my life would be perfect now, and I wouldn't have any current difficulties. Persistent regret, self-blame, inability to move forward, and missing opportunities in the present by dwelling on unchangeable past. Everybody else has it easier. We have that kind of a belief. I look at far that couple, how they love each other, how much. We don't know what is going on inside them. The delusion that everyone else's life is easier, happier, more successful than mine, and I'm uniquely burdened, as if the God has given me all the suffering. A wrong, false approach, a deluded approach. This text opens up our mind. It helps us to recognize the delusion which causes the ignorance, and ignorance causes the suffering. We are going to discuss in detail each principle in the form of a verse. Imagine you are walking through a desert. I always give this example. Parched and desperate for water, in a distance you see a shimmering lake, a mirage. Your mind registers it as a water. I see a beautiful girl. My mind has a shimmering lake of a mirage that if I marry, I will be happy, and your body reacts with a hope. You walk towards it, only to find nothing there in the mirage. The water was a mistaken perception. The happiness in the world outside, in any situation, person, and relationship, is a mistaken perception. That is what the delusion is. Your exhaustion and disappointment in realizing that there is no water, there is no happiness, is a form of suffering. The mirage itself wasn't wrong, but my perception is wrong, it is deluded. Similarly, we perceive the blueness of the sky or the feeling of the highway rushing behind us in a car. These are the perceived real. We experience. Many people tell me, it is my experience. Did you analyze your experience? Delusion is what appears, real is not real. The experience does not mean event, situation are real. But we ignore. We enter into the state of forgetfulness, and the mind keeps running after the pleasure, happiness where it is not. That is the problem. Our master discusses in detail each and every state movement of the mind, and it helps us to recognize here is a delusion. So the moment we recognize we live in a right perception, problem is gone. That is why it is known as hammer the delusion. We will take up the verse after this lesson. Take an example, that frequent example. Delusion is that happiness is located in a marriage. No, I'm intelligent. So that is why you say I marry to be happy. Because you have already make it sure that happiness is located there. When marriage inevitably brings challenges or doesn't fulfill all our expectations, the initial perceived source of happiness seems to disappear, leading to dissatisfaction and suffering. The delusion is then what? That happiness is located in divorce. Then we enter into another delusion. That also is a big problem. In the absence of a previous situation, I'll be happy. You were not happy, that's why you wanted to marry to be happy. Now you divorce. You wanted the presence of the same situation in a person, now you want the absence of the same situation and perception. What kind of a person we are? While divorce might bring relief from a difficult situation, if the underlying search for happiness remains extremely focused, new forms of dissatisfaction and the suffering begins. What is the core root issue? I'm looking for happiness. Looking for happiness in the world outside, in a person, in a relationship, in the wealth, in a status, in a position. But we don't apply the intellect to find out if, first let me find out if the happiness is located in the world outside, in a person, an object, in a situation. Then okay, obviously, then you start searching. Eastern wisdom, our great master says, happiness can never be external, it is internal. Should I say happiness is our essential nature when we are searching it outside? So that very search creates a thought pattern, it veils. It's like a blackout curtain. It brings the blackout curtain over my happiness, and I keep on searching outside. Then what happens? Then there is a dance of delusion in our life, and which is very much prevalent. The delusion keeps on dancing in our life, what we call the modern life. That is why we go after the stress management, anger management, reaction. Couple of examples, social media trap. We spend hours scrolling, obsessively checking likes and follower counts. I request in my sessions that now we are going to do the practice of meditation. Could you put your phone on silence? Some of them, they keep the phone on silence. Others, phone budge during the practice of meditation. Meditation is not so important as the sound, and they start looking for it. I don't say anything to those people, or let you do it. You see the social media trap? My value as a person depends on external validation from the social media, from the budget. That is itself is an anxiety. The workaholism treadmill, I'm fully busy. It has become a fashion statement. We pour all our energy into our jobs or neglecting other aspects of the life, believing our identity is solely defined by our professional role. I am my job. Is it not a delusion? My worth comes from my productivity and success at work. Chro- Chronic stress, burnout, strained personal relationship, neglected health, inability to relax, all are the products of the delusion. Then one guy, he is a millennial, always wants to keep his perfect body. He is running after the perfect body, but his mind is very weak. So he is driven by the societal ideals. We might cycle through overeating and restrictive dieting, constantly feeling dissatisfied with the appearance. My happiness and acceptance depends on having a perfect body. How long can anyone stop the aging process? Health and the sickness are dynamic states. Result is disappointment, resentment, anxiety, loneliness, wealth pursuit. When I have $1 million in my account, I will be happy. Okay, so that $1 million says to you that now you are rich and happy, or you project happiness on the number of dollars present in your account. Delusion. Wealth does not have a property of peace and happiness. Once I have enough, all my problems will disappear. Endless striving. We need to reflect on this. Our masters raise these questions. We have to ask, what are those traps? Do I mostly often find myself? What specific thoughts or beliefs fuel my actions in that area? How does this cycle typically make me feel? They make me feel happy? Because we are deluded, we are moving unconsciously, impulsively, habitually, craving an obsession. Master says, first contemplate and reflect. Ask about yourself. So the moment you start contemplating and reflecting in line with the principles of Eastern wisdom, you start the journey of self-knowledge, self-realization and awakening. Eastern wisdom, it is not just about identifying the problems. It offers a practical path to freedom from the delusion in the suffering. This path involves a process of self-inquiry, consistent practice of what? Practice of knowledge. That I'm going to talk about it. So we say that listening and learning the principles of Eastern wisdom, or to put it simply, I don't know, let me know it. But you should know it with awareness and attention, so that at least your mind registers these principles as they are without any reaction or a response. Second step comes, you retrieve those principles in your mind sitting in a contemplative mood, and then you raise the questions related to your deluded effort that you make in the world outside. Contemplation and reflection means that you are finding the cause and effect relationship. Like, what is the cause of the water in the mirage? When you approach there, what is the cause of the blueness of the sky? Nothing happens to the sky. Nothing happens to the sand and the sunlight. And followed by the regular practice of mindfulness and meditation. That will help you to move ahead. How does understanding that all experiences takes place in the mind? You have to maintain your awareness. Do you see me? Do you listen to me? Do you see my eyes through the mind? Eyes takes you to the mind and you know. You see me. Ears goes to the mind, it gives you the sound and you hear and you understand. All experiences takes place in the mind. So it means experience is one thing and the knowledge of that experience of mirage water is one thing. But then I have to see whether it's a right knowledge or not. There I have to apply reasoning. We don't want to apply. You are responsible for my stress. You are responsible for my anxiety. You made my life hell. So who can make your life heaven? Can you find one? Considering the mirage metaphor, what is something you are currently chasing for happiness that might ultimately be a delusion? What you are searching, why you are actually busy? Ask yourself. You are actually busy for something? Obviously. You want to achieve something? Good. So you want to achieve something from the world outside? Yes. Is it for a basic necessities or a survival or seeking happiness? It is for seeking happiness. So did I project the happiness on that object or event or a person or relationship? Yes. That is why you are actually busy. That is why you have a stress. So we will go deeply. I just gave an example. So we will step by step, we will go and understand deeply as the master of this text teaches. How can daily practice of self-assessment, knowledge applied, and regular practice help you identify and challenge your own mistaken belief? Mind brings the delusion, and when the pressure of the intellect is more than the impulsive nature of the mind, the balance tilts in favor of the knowledge. But if you don't contemplate and reflect, the balance tilts. Now the impulsive nature dictates over the intellect, and then you suffer from anxiety, craving, duality, and a conflict. What specific thought or belief about yourself, yes, about yourself or the world do you suspect is a delusion? I have to find out. So now I'm on the verge of discovering through contemplation and reflection into our mind. And when you do it, you will find out it is possible. So this text is a unique text which helps us to recognize the many areas of delusion which we experience but is not true. I experience my floor of my room doesn't move. It doesn't mean that the earth is not moving. So we take for granted these simple delusions. We know earth is moving, taken for granted. It will work. But when you take for granted that my honey will give me happiness, there comes the problem. When you take for granted the water is there, definitely in the mirage, then there is a problem. We have to, so when you contemplate and reflect, what happens? Your mind drops the distractions. It drops the wandering nature. That is the right moment to fall, to enter into mindfulness or meditation. Why? Through the contemplation and reflection, I was saying the pulse dissolves, the real takes hold, a story ancient, bravely told. From the clouded sight to vision clear, we find awakening, vanishing fear. The search outside, it gently ends. You cannot forcibly end the search outside. That is why the Eastern wisdom says, listen and learn. The search outside, it gently ends as inner peace, its light extends, no longer bound by what we deem, but living the truth of waking dream.